Today, we're talking about two new gimbals from Feiyu-Tech. The Mini P Scorp and this thing. This is the Pocket 3, and this is what I'm really excited about. Let me tell you more about it. Starting with the Mini P Scorp gimbal. Now this is a gimbal meant for smartphones, capable of holding up to 1 pound. So that's the capacity range for that. So most smartphones, I think even with a case, are pretty good with this. I use the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Yeah, that's what it's called. And that fits perfectly on this gimbal with a case attached. Now this gimbal, if you take a look at it, it kind of does look like a scorpion, which is why it's called the Scorp. It allows you to hold this thing from multiple different handles. For example, there's this low angle grip. This allows you to get those low angle shots and really hold the gimbal in a really comfortable manner for those types of shots. You can also hold it traditionally like this, and overall, I mean, it's the most ergonomic smartphone gimbal that I've used. So we have a cool follow focus style on the left side right here. It's fully customizable. You can use it to control any axis on the gimbal. You can also use it to control zoom and follow focus. There's an FPV button on the side which allows you to get instant roll axis control when it follows your body's movements. So you can get that similar FPV performance on this gimbal like you would see on a drone. Now because of this low angle handle, we have more real estate for buttons. So we have a stop and start recording button, which by the way, does not need the Feiyu-Tech app. It automatically connects to your phone via Bluetooth, so that's pretty awesome there. We have a nice joystick, a mode switcher button, and a vortex button. That's the first thing I've actually noticed on this gimbal, is that it has a dedicated vortex button. So if you press it, you can control the spin either to the left or to the right. And if you keep tapping those buttons, it will start speeding up those spins. So I really like that feature. And then we have some function buttons on the right and left hand side. And we also have the front trigger, which allows us to reset and enter selfie mode, along with the power button as well. Under the front nose, I would like to call it, is the USB port for charging. We also have a USB port for your phone so you can charge while you're using it. And just like other gimbals, we have a vertical option which allows you to capture portrait mode or, social media posts for, let's say, Instagram Reels or TikTok as well. And we get those cool locking notches on this gimbal so it locks all the axes so it's not swinging around during transportation. When it comes down to overall footage and the performance of the gimbal, it performs great. A lot of gimbals have been performing great for a while now, so it just boils down to the features and overall ergonomics of the gimbals. I had no issues with this gimbal. The setup was so easy. You don't have to use the app, which is my favorite part about this gimbal. All the buttons work, so that's great. Now let's talk about the gimbal that I'm extremely excited about, and that is the new Feiyu-Tech Pocket 3. Look at this thing. I mean, I'm absolutely in love with how tiny this gimbal is. Before we get into the review and talk about the Pocket 3, a lot of you are going to be asking, why would you use something like this instead of, let's say, an Insta360 camera? Well, if you take a look at an Insta360 camera, they say it's 5.2K, 5.7K, but that's when you combine both of the lenses together. So if you chop off one lens, you're stuck with half that resolution, and most people are going to want to zoom in, which downgrades the resolution even further. With this camera, you're actually just dealing with 4K only, and you get that full wide angle view without having to restitch things or track things in the app, because when you're using a 360 camera, you constantly have to go into the app, do the tracking so it follows everything that you want, and then it takes a lot more time in editing. So this is something that I would use a lot more for action sports because it would take a lot less time in post-processing. However, you do have to double check the framing every single time you set it up, which, however, is why they also make this wireless remote controller with a built-in LCD display, so you can see exactly what this camera is seeing without having to connect it to the app. And this is awesome because I can't stand using apps. Every single piece of equipment that I own has its own app, and it just drives me insane. When I look at my phone and I have 1,000 apps, I can't deal with it. My anxiety just whoop. So it's good that we can have a standalone product relying on its own hardware without having to go to my phone or any other mobile device. Everything can be controlled via this remote controller. The remote itself has its own joystick, zoom control, mode control, and recording button too. Previous to their Pocket 2, this thing is actually fully wireless. So there's a built-in battery pack that's in the camera gimbal itself, and there's another built-in battery pack in the remote which charges up the camera when it's plugged in using this USB-C port, which just slides right in and then it starts charging immediately. There's also a mini display on the camera body itself, allowing you to see the battery life, whether or not you're in video or photo mode. You can see what shooting mode you're in for the gimbal, let's say full follow, tilt follow, pan follow, and then POV, obviously. There's a record and shutter button in the front, and then there's an SD card slot on the side as well. Now, because this thing is so tiny, that means you can mount it on virtually anything, which is why they include this magnetic mount, which just slides right into the camera body. And then with this magnetic mount, they also include a Velcro mount, so you can Velcro this thing on a lot of different things. For example, I'm an electric unicycle rider. I love recording videos while I ride, and I started using the Pocket 3 a lot for my riding videos, and I actually have another channel which I'm starting to grow reviewing electric unicycles, and the Pocket 3 is my #1 tool when I come to recording those types of videos. I also used this magic arm and this cool little light stand clamp, and I clamped it onto the unicycle as well. So you can get really creative on how you want to mount this camera because it's so tiny and it can virtually fit anywhere. So with this magnetic base, it'll stick onto anything magnetic. However, the car that I drive does not have magnetic panels, and I wasn't able to get any exterior car driving shots, unfortunately. So I'll have to find another way of rigging this camera on that car. But stay tuned, I'm gonna capture a lot more content with this Pocket 3. I really enjoy the performance out of this thing, and overall, I couldn't be happier. Feiyu-Tech, you are upping the game, especially with the Pocket 3. I'm very impressed with this thing. I mean, I'm using it almost every day to capture my videos. I'm putting down my 360 cameras and focusing more on this thing because it is very impressive. So stay tuned for more content with the Pocket 3. It's coming fast, so if you're not already, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you in another one. Peace.